So Karys, we've started talking just about the social value engine itself. So when we ran an evaluation through it, what types of data did we gather and why? And how hard did we find it gathering in all this data?
So yeah, with the with projects like the Withenstein and Hornsey project as part of Classically Yours, we know, you're on the ground, you see it. We know that projects like that have really wide-reaching value, and we wanted to make sure we gathered feedback from all the groups involved. So that's, the multiple groups of participants, the audience, the local partners, as well as the orchestral musicians. And I think that's something that, we sort of become apparent over sort of recent years, actually, starting to get feedback on actually how important some of these projects are for the orchestral musicians involved. It's not just a gig. It's, they get so much value from their experience, their learning, they're engaging with people in these communities. So yeah, it was super important to survey all these groups.
I think there's something really important about that connection as well in these types of projects where you're within a very community-based, and over time, for the orchestral musicians who are involved in multiple iterations of the similar programme, that what they get from that and what they see and the growth they see and the relationship in the room between all the different people involved, it really flourishes and flowers, and they can appreciate that change over time. So it's been really interesting to learn from their point of view, actually, about all of that work and the social value within that for them as professionals.
Yeah, and it's so good because, we've got amazing quotes, like some of the best quotes I've ever read, just about from all participant groups about how special that project was. We've got stats, we've got numbers, but being able to then add this layer of social value that's accredited, it's in financial terms, that you can just do so much more, and yeah, it's so powerful. It's very exciting.
Yeah, it is. And also because it helps us to tell that story effectively to people who aren't in the room. And as we know, it can be challenging getting the key people you need in terms of sustainability for your projects, cultural projects, in the room for the culmination or to see the activity in person. And something about this social value and the way it's expressed, I think, really helps to demonstrate that intrinsic value of culture that you can see, but pinning it down is really difficult. And this is a way that's helping us to do that well, I think.
So yeah, we did use mainly surveys to gather this information from the groups involved. And I think for us, it was really important that those outcomes were being reported by the people that were involved. So, we weren't making assumptions about the value. These were people telling us. And how we did that is we matched some of our survey questions, some that we've been using for a long time and developed through our ongoing approach in the project. And we matched those to the financial proxies within the social value engine. And there were some additional outcomes as well that we collected directly from the stakeholder groups about impact. And I think for these pilot projects, actually it wasn't very difficult for us to collect that information, because you said before that the partners are really bought in. They understand, how much evaluation can do. It's not just fill in this form. It's actually being able to take that feedback from the people who've been reached by the project and use that to advocate for continuation of the work is so important. They realise that. The communities that we've been working in East Riding, they realise that as well. So that was so beneficial in being able to gather high quality data to go into the engine. And we got really good response rates. And yeah, that was perfect.
Yeah, it really is. And I think you're talking about the value of the feedback that we get as well. I think one thing that sticks with me with this project in particular is one year we had a could do better point, and the following year it was, you sorted this could do better point. And that's exactly kind of what the purpose of evaluation is. We can all produce good work, but there's always ways to improve it. And I think helping us to do that, and our community is also getting used to telling us and feeding back. The better quality data that we can collect means that we can run a more robust evaluation through the social value engine and be more confident in the results it produces. So, Karys, what mechanisms are in place within the engine to prevent overclaiming and ensure those objective results we've been talking about?
So you mentioned before with the results that we got from the pilot projects that we've been running, that it was a high level of social value return, but that we weren't overclaiming. And the reason that we know that is we've been supported by the social value engine team, looking at this data, really making sure that what we're putting in is as accurate as possible. And they're aware of an upper limit of that sort of triggers when they know that, or it raises questions, and if something's coming out as greater than that, it's an indicator, and it's a prompt to do a thorough check back on the data that we're putting in, and also the set of deflators that are built into the engine. So the deflators are a way to make sure that the social value return that's coming out of the model is directly related to the activity and not something else that's sort of a side effect, basically.
Yeah.
So some of the examples about that is things like whether the impact that we're seeing or is being reported might have occurred anyway without the activity taking place, or potentially if the social value impact that's coming through our project is displaced from somewhere else, like if people had been involved in another project elsewhere, and they've come to this one instead, is that just displacing the social value rather than creating new? So yeah, it's a really good system, and it asks a lot of questions, but equally it just adds to that level of confidence that we can have when it comes out at the other end, that we've done all those checks and balances, and we've asked the right questions.
Yeah, and I think for us in a cultural context as well, our work happens often in a short time frame, and the impact from, say, being an audience member at one concert, how is that impact going to translate into a year's worth of social value, which is the minimum length that the social value is calculated on? So that's where you do have to deflate it, because obviously it can have an ongoing effect, but the key effect is going to be within the month or so that they saw that particular performance. It may not last hugely beyond that, or it may be then built on by other things that they go to see. So it's been quite an interesting process to learn more about those kind of value judgments around how you deflate everything so you get the balance right across what you're putting into the engine.